So then if I put this on and this on, it does recognize the key. Okay, so it recognizes what I'm typing here. You know what? This is actually such a better product than their last one. Today's board is interesting. We're going to share our screen and just show you guys this first. It is interesting. So this is the board that we're taking a look at today. It's the DS Pixel Pro. I don't have a price on this, unfortunately, but it is the DS Pixel Pro. If you guys remember, the last DS Pixel was the one with the screen, and it was expensive, and it had like a touch capacitive type thing. This is using Hall effect, which in theory is actually like, hell yeah. It has 2 IPS displays, it's a gaming keyboard, and an Alice layout. It also features a few different things, which I'll show you guys, but I mean, there's the design. We'll show you guys after this. I don't know how well this will work with the Hall effect stuff. Now, I have been using Hall effect a shit ton, so we're gonna see. They have apparently their own kind of like software and firmware, which they sent me. So this is also gonna double as like a gaming keyboard, which is, it's cool in theory. And then they have different ports here. So they have a fast charging port, a power switch because it's wireless, and a wired connection port. If you guys remember the last time I looked at something from this particular brand that ran a Kickstarter, I was extremely honest. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. This is humongous. This is huge. I mean, I appreciate that it's using Hall effect. I wonder if you can just swap. Obviously this is clear switches, but so let's just take a look at the board for now. I kind of want to turn this on. Tell you what, I like the design of this one way more than their first project. This is actually so much cooler looking. Interesting. All right, well, let me show you guys the bottom of the keyboard too. Very basic here. We have some very small feet, which I actually kind of appreciate. There's some scuffs on this, but this is a prototype unit. They made sure to let me know. This is definitely a proto. The ano on the bottom is meh. This is one of the very few times I can actually tell you guys. I think, and again, proto unit, there's also scratches, but the ano is very streaky and it might not appear too much on my camera, unfortunately, because this is red and red's very difficult to show, but it does have a very streaky look on the bottom. Phillips head screws, which I do not like for longevity. Terrible. I hope that gets changed because I'm assuming this is going to be more of an expensive product. It does look like they started using some hex screws, so maybe we're going to see hex screws on this. But it is a very big keyboard. So I guess when I look at something like this, I tend to think, okay, who's the target audience? And then I remember, okay, so I think, because this is Hall effect, perhaps gamers. However, I think my issue right away is this is really tall. This is not easy to game on. Like, you'd be sitting at a bit of an angle. You'd need a wrist rest of some sort, which I don't even like personally, but you would need a wrist rest. Now, I will say this does look more polished than their last product, which is fun. And then, yeah, we have the key modules, which we'll take a look at. We'll turn around actually here in a second. You don't see spaces for switches? That's because they lay on top of these. And the Hall effect, because it's a magnet, I'm guessing, and this would also make me concerned for alignment's sake. How will this align nicely on the keyboard? Will this shift around a little bit? Actually, no, it stays pretty much in place. I would still be a little concerned to see how this would react in the long term for this. What I think is a smart idea for them to do, some criticism right here, I would have a way to fasten this down to the keyboard better. Because with Hall effect, you definitely need to have the magnets sitting in a very fixed position for them to be completely effective. But I definitely would want, like, yeah, this isn't moving, which is great, but I would think having something to really seat these keycaps down would be better for the long run. Ergonomics look very iffy on this. Yeah, if you're someone who rests your hand on your desk, you're not using this 110%. I'm going to be very technical this review, by the way. Their old product, if you go back and watch my old video, the switches and the way that things worked on the old product was kind of ass. We'll just call it what it was. It didn't feel very good. I mentioned that they need to fix that. I think this system with the Hall effect already is a million times better. Way better. So I'm very happy to say that, yeah, I'm more confident in this. And then how is this getting, is this just like a special stab that they've designed? Oh, there's not even a stabilizer here. I guess you could put a stabilizer. It does look like there's room for a stab, but they don't actually have stabilizers in here at the moment, which is not really affecting this much. The keycaps actually look really good too, which on the original one, because they had to, I guess, custom make them, they were iffy. Okay, boot up time is obviously a bit slow. I'm not going to fault it because it makes sense that this is a bit slow. But essentially, this is kind of like having a mini tablet split into two pieces here. Okay, interesting. So then if I put this on and this on, it does recognize the key. Okay, so it recognizes what I'm typing here. Honestly, this is... You know what? This is actually such a better product than their last one. It doesn't feel janky at all. It's definitely not the easiest to look at like what's underneath, for sure. Like they have legends underneath, but you can barely see them. Wow, this is actually way better than their last project. Okay, they're flat profile magnetic axis switches, which they've spelled wrong on their website here. They put axes like I'm throwing an axe. I mean, interesting. They're using Hall effect sensors. Cool. 8K performance PCB on the inside. It has a built-in CPU and GPU, kind of like what I told you. It's like two mini tablets or a single mini tablet. 12-hour battery life. 1-tap calibration light. Oh, this is like a touch thing. I don't know what you do with that or how that works exactly. Maybe you calibrate the Hall effect sensors. So now we can play around with some other stuff here, which is, does this type very well? And we can even put our own graphics here in the back too, which is neat. I don't know if I would have went for like this macro column on the left side here. I think I would have probably X'd that out and made the keyboard a bit more small here. But let me just see how this types and sounds and stuff. Obviously sound doesn't really matter when you're probably going for something like this. But let me see, I'm kind of curious. Okay, I can see where the Hall effect sensor has been placed there. There's some firmware which I'll load up too. Am I good on typing on this? Not really. This is sitting really high. These are also really high keycaps. Probably going with something a bit more, because what, are these SA? These might be cherry-ish, but time for a type test. Oh, dude, I don't even know if I can type with these. This is not very comfortable for me. I keep touching random things too, because all the Hall effect sensors are really, really sensitive right now. So let me just go in and figure out if we can change some settings here. Does this have a wrist rest? They should ship this with a wrist rest. I agree. They should. Let's see if this works. Driver support. Oh, I think this is the file they sent, but I couldn't open the thing they sent here. Wait, hold on one sec. You know what? I think they did a much better job. I will say though, some critical things right away, outside of feel and my worries about this switch tray. It is slow to boot up, and even loading these drivers, like just initializing the device, if it even works, is rather slow. There's no HDMI this time, but it does look like we have some potential ways to customize this. The displays are nice, I'll tell you that much. I kind of hate the non-centered USB position. I mean, I don't mind it personally. It's not the end of the world for me, but I totally get what you mean. Oh, here we go. I got it to load up. So it looks like we have lighting settings, which is off, but obviously there's nothing here for lighting. We have keyboard settings here, which we can change the way the the magnetic switch actuate. So we can literally just select all of, can we just select all? Sometimes they have a select all method. Or I guess let's just see if we hit the spacebar. So we can, oh yeah, okay. So they have like a fully working software. Selected 2 keys, telling me to wait now. This is kind of like the negative of this software. It's taking forever for things. They have a display setting. So if I do a bunch of random stuff and preview the image, okay, right? Will this just go on here? Let me see the instructions that they sent over. I'll tell you guys what, I couldn't get the screens to work right now. The last one was a little bit easier because all I had to do was basically make this go into USB mode and then just drop files in. This web-based program, which requires you to connect to Wi-Fi, is ridiculous. I'll tell you that right now. I do not like this. This is more trouble than you need just to change the screen. Here is the keyboard we're looking at today, by the way. This is the DS Pixel Pro. It's a keyboard with a screen behind it, which you can put like Hall effect switches on top. It's actually pretty cool. It's legitimately pretty neat. However, it has a few things in which I am not the biggest fan of. So, few things I will talk about right now. The keyboard's really tall. The keyboard's also really big. I don't think this would be great for gaming. In fact, I can picture myself trying to game on this right now. This would make me uncomfortable after just a few minutes. They're LCD screens. They're IPS LCD screens. They're literally tablets. Like I had one just pop up with like a tablet keyboard on this keyboard. It was hilarious. It was a keyboard within a keyboard. The other issue I think that presents itself with this is I do think there should be a better way to fixate these screens and with the keyboard itself. Because all you're doing is laying this Hall effect keyboard on top. And yes, well, it does lock into place here, like kinda. You can still easily micro move this ever so slightly as you guys see me doing right now. I do think there should be a better way to fix this, like lock it in place. So right away, I can tell you that might cause some issues. It doesn't seem like it's causing issues right now, which is fantastic. So not bad at all. My issue number 3, the software for this is webware. Fantastic. Love that. However, changing all the settings is cumbersome. If you decide you want to change some settings on this keyboard, good luck. Just even having the first thing initialized took, I'm not even kidding, like 1:30, 2 minutes. And then it took like 20 to 30 seconds every single time I was going to go in there. Now, with that being said, I'm not stupid. I don't think people are going to go in and change their keys that often. There was profiles within the software too, so it looks like there was some decent things you can do with this Hall effect keyboard. So kudos to them for that. You do have to install like a separate driver for the keyboard, which is running in the background right now, which is lackluster. I don't love that. What I don't like though is they have another piece of webware to change the screens and move some more of the keys. That requires a Wi-Fi connection, which didn't even work for me. Basically, it was just timing out every 2 seconds. I think they need to do something for the price, because this is probably going to be really expensive. The last one was really expensive. They need to do something for the price point here and then create some sort of custom software or custom all-in-one where you don't need to use a few different pieces of software. That would be, I think, the most ideal thing. So as of right now, like I am not a big fan of how this kind of communicates to each other. I mean, I couldn't even get it to work and it would just keep timing out. Maybe it's a Mac thing, but I don't think so. I'll try again on my Windows computer. And my last small little piece of what I don't like, once you connect to your Wi-Fi on this, if you decide to, it literally shows your IP address like on the keyboard. So I disconnected it right now, but like that's so stupid. You don't need to constantly see your IP address on the keyboard. That there should be like a better way to just physically wire this in and do all those settings without having to use Wi-Fi or a wireless connection. It's convenient for sure, but I think it's ridiculous. Again, how many times do you think people are going to go in and customize like their background images for that to even matter? Now, in terms of like what you can do with Hall effect switches, if you wanted to switch your Hall effect switch, I mean, yeah, it looks like, I think these are custom because these have completely flat bottoms, which I don't think many other Hall effect switches do. See that? They're well lubed and they sound nice. So these look like they were created just for this, which is interesting. The switches do feel good. I'll give them credit for that. The switches feel good. The keycaps are really, really clean as well. I think this would benefit from a more translucent plate somehow. Some better way to kind of showcase things. Because it is, you don't get to see like everything underneath, but I think this would be really cool if you can get like a really neat image underneath here. See how you have the blue there? If you had like a better image, this would be super neat. I'm gonna see how this looks with the lights off too. To speak positively though, and not just my critical stuff, I think this is a giant step up from their last one. Okay, that's pretty cool in the dark. That is actually sick in the dark. I'm not gonna lie. Low key, if this was a 60% and they had the screen, I'd buy one. And it was a little bit more slim. Absolutely, that is actually kind of cool. It is 33-ish millimeters tall from this point here. So that's about 12 millimeters taller than my typical, what I usually like. It's pretty tall. I feel like there's probably a lot of parts in here to get it to work like this. but I also feel like it wouldn't be difficult to get this to be slimmer. I really don't feel like this would be extremely difficult to be slimmer here. Cool project. Very, very cool project at the end of the day. I applaud them for doing a much better job than their last one. Again, if I was into Atlas boards and I didn't mind some of the things I just said, would be a cool pickup. The absolute though needs to be better software or webware, whatever you want to call it. That is like my final like nail in the coffin that would change me from buying this board versus not buying this board. It needs better software in terms of everything that I mentioned earlier. So I like the idea of what they're doing though. I like the Hall effect with screens behind it. I think it's super cool. It's definitely cool. It's definitely cool. I want to see more. I want to see like a bit more revision to this to make it like even cooler. All right, guys. See you next time. We'll see you tomorrow. Love you guys and take care. Bye, everybody. I mean, yeah, this type's great.